Welcome to Season 2 of Prosecco and Prose. Still, a deep dive and spirited virtual book club that focuses on all types of prose.
And all types of Prosecco. I'm Wendy.
And I'm Amy. Hey, you don't sound so mad this season.
Okay, Ms. I can't say request. Let's leave Season 1 in the past and move forward to our new and improved version of Prosecco and Prose.
Your feedback was so important and helpful to us. Wasn't the epilogue fun, Wendy?
It was so much fun. Our listeners, our friends, seemed a tad surprised to see the uncouth side of us.
Let's also file that term away with Season 1 and just call it unladylike. Sort of like my shirt. But we have such great listeners who offer some of the best comments and feedback.
They do. But we're both refreshed and have done quite a bit of reading and writing over the break. Anything new with you, Amy?
Well, we upgraded our car to fit our golf equipment.
What?
I know. It was so ridiculous. Hubs went with Volvo.
Volvos are good cars.
Yeah, they're boxy but good. But it's like a hearse on wheels.
A what?
A hearse on wheels.
I thought that's what you said.
It could hold like 2 coffins, a football team, and several cases of Prosecco.
Bonus.
Well, maybe 2 golf bags, our push carts, 1 coffin, and a bottle of Prosecco.
I prefer the cases.
At least it's not army camel colored. That's where I truly had to put my foot down. But I also started a buddy read on Facebook in between the seasons. What's new with you, my friend?
Well, I took a course on how to set up our website, which I have to say put my poor little brain into technical overload.
Now you know what it feels like to edit our podcast episodes.
Yeah, well, I don't know if I know that, but I know it was really, really fun learning something new. I ran the Army 10 miler.
Good for you.
Thank you. Read so many amazing books. I know we were scrolling about that many times. And I finally finished the last bottle from our 3-case batch of Prosecco.
She said 3 cases.
So, I don't know. I think that's quite productive.
Sounds busy. Should I be worried? Do you even still like Prosecco?
Do I like Prosecco? Of course. You've got to drink that stuff fresh, Amy. Prosecco has a shelf life. Surprised you didn't know that.
I just drink it to keep the hubs from finding out how many bottles I purchase. But I too read a plethora of incredible books over the break. New season, new literature.
And some new ideas for the podcast.
The podcast? Don't you mean our podcast? I knew my midnight text scrolls were coming to an end. You're cutting me loose, aren't you?
What? You think I would even deem to do this without you? Do you remember what we just talked about technology? Okay, I can only handle one technology thing.
I know.
I'm just trying to rein us in a bit, okay? You know we go overboard.
What do you mean? Was it the pages? How about my scrolls? How about the notebooks?
Maybe all of that? So what we are going to do is taper the number of talking points we share down just a bit.
Well, we did have a few listeners share that it was sometimes a bit overwhelming to keep up with all of the themes and symbols that we covered in each episode.
What I think they were trying to say was that we talk too much. No. What I think they were trying to say was that they're getting the hang of finding some of the deeper themes and symbols, and they'd like a turn for themselves.
Gotcha. My days as a pirate going on a scavenger hunt are over. Oh, and is this why you were asking me to think of a play on words about 5 parts or sections or things having to do with each piece of prose?
Yes. Okay, so what I asked Amy to do was to come up with a fun teachery phrase, she's amazing at it, guys, that helps us keep each episode narrowed to only 5 areas of interest. It's good. It's a very teachery thing to do, keep it easy.
So I literally took her for her word. You know the word 5, and I wanted to have a little alliteration fun.
We love alliteration.
Me being the older co-host.
Not by much.
Well, I knew of the archaic verb for invent or imagine. It's feign. F-E-I-G-N. Feign.
Yes.
I chose the feigning 5. Tell them what you said, Wendy. Tell them.
I said feigning? You mean lying or at the very least pretending?
So we both went to the Google Webs and looked up feigning, and we were both right. But I digressed, as we couldn't expect most people to learn the language of Plato or Aristotle.
Well, some may like it, but being that you, both of us, love to exaggerate.
Call it amplification.
Anyway, you said something about a handful being 5. Remember when we were bouncing this around?
Giving it context.
Okay, well, that was actually very helpful because I came up with something I think we both can agree on. I'm hoping. So, drum roll, please. Okay, or our new Press for Prosecco bells from Grandma Sue are perfect. A handful of hyperbole.
And I loved it. And yes, this is something that we can run with for season 2. But hey, listeners, don't even think about taking all the themes and symbols away from me next season. It'll never happen. Can we at least keep the voodoo name book? And what's this handful of hyperbole going to look like?
We have to. Okay, so I'm glad you asked and listened because of what you just said.
Mm-hmm.
So our new format will be thus. Prosecco 101 and tasting. Got to do that, right? Author bio, character intros, brief summary.
With spoilers.
Of course, there will always be spoilers, but we give that warning. Then we will inject our handful of hyperbole. Okay? 1, we will talk about 1 or 2 themes.
Just 1 or 2?
I mean, those are the big things. You don't need too many of those. 2, we will discuss a few symbols and or motifs.
My favorite.
Yes. 3, we will dive into Amy's always insightful voodoo name book.
It's actually called The Nomenology Project's Hidden Truth of Your Name, a complete guide to first names and what they say about the real you. We have found characters' names to be so telling and fitting that we just had to have it be a regular part of our discussion.
I mean, it's actually one of my favorites to research and discuss.
Same. Sometimes it really does change the prose for me.
It certainly brings a fun new twist. 4, we will play a game, maybe related to the book, maybe related to us, with Mr. Prologue or our new Press for Prosecco bells.
Or whatever other random game piece we may come up with. As teachers, we are a little bit of creative.
And finally, 5 in our handful is something random. Like, I'm thinking, an interesting setting, maybe the structure of the piece, maybe literary theory or criticism, or whatever. I mean, it's random, but no more than 5 talking points in an episode.
Like 5 little inventions, as in the feigning 5? Why couldn't it have worked?
Well, Amy, I just want to point out this tiny detail. You didn't even initially like the word 5.
True. It just wasn't bubbly enough for me.
Is handful of hyperbole bubbly enough for you?
As long as it has persistent prologue. Kind of like the Josh Prosecco we had for our Chernobyl short in episode 6 of season 1.
Okay. Oh, I love that one. Trust me, it's going to give us more time to do some personal writing on our blog, review novels and short stories, or help our teacher friends out with some standards-based literary lessons with all the bells and whistles.
Sounds perfect. But we need to share with our friends what we have in store prose-wise for season 2.
And we have a great lineup. It's a mix of listener requests and some pieces we've had in our TBR lists.
Now, episode 1 is Claire Gibson's novel Beyond the Point. It is a fictional account of 3 young female cadets before, during, and after their time at West Point. The novel will not disappoint. We wanted 2 pieces of military literature during the month of November to honor our men and women veterans.
We will have a special guest with us on this episode, a mother of female twins who are West Point grads. Many of you military spouses will know her. She is no stranger to the military aviation community.
She is one of the most genuine military wives, mothers, and friends I've ever met. Now, in episode 2, we will discuss Mark Twain's short story, Luck, which is about a very lucky general. And friends, remember, we always give you a link to short stories in our show notes so you can read the literature online.
Episode 3 will be Lucy Foley's The Guest List, and episode 4 will be Barbara Robinson's The Best Christmas Pageant Ever.
And I cannot wait to discuss Imogene Herdman. I hope that name is in the Voodoo Name book.
Amy, I kind of have a feeling your younger self is a page right out of this book.
True statement. Now, episode 5 is a listener's request, The Third Policeman by Flann O'Brien. Episode 6 is another listener's request, a young adult LGBTQ literary novel by Casey McQuiston, Red, White, and Royal Blue.
Episode 7 is Britt Bennett's The Vanishing Half, and episode 8 is a short story, Ugly, by Mary Gordon.
One of my
It
favorites.
was such a great short.
Mm-hmm.
Episodes 9 and 10 are open for listener requests, either novels or short stories, you choose.
We're glad to be back. We're raring to get started with the new season. Please subscribe to Prosecco and Prose wherever you listen to podcasts to get notifications when episodes drop.
Don't forget to star rate and review us on Apple Podcasts. And as always, feel free to reach out to us on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram, or on our new website, www.proseccoandprose.com.
And as always,
Pop a cork and read.